4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Eskin, and on behalf of Eskin Fundraising Training, it is my privilege to welcome you to number 29 in our nonprofit empowerment webinar series. And this one is a topic that I've been looking forward to a long time. It's monthly means more money. But before we go any further, I'd like to recognize our producer, John Largent, who is the CEO of Game Day Media. He has been with us on this journey since the very first webinar, which I believe was April 1st, no joke. And I worry about everything, but thanks to John, I don't worry about technology. John, could you take a moment to tell people some of the logistical details, particularly how they could share questions for myself and our special guest?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. If you have any questions, you can do two things. You can write them in the chat, but what we'd rather you do is raise your hand so that we can bring your audio in and you can ask the questions directly. And you can just do that by clicking on the chat, and there is a raise your hand button, and just press that and I will see that. And when Jim starts asking for questions, I will cue you up and you can ask your question.
Great. Today, we're going to learn everything you want to know about monthly giving. I really am confused. I don't know what to call our special guest, Erica Waasdorp, either the First Lady or Mother of Monthly Giving, but this I do know. She knows more about monthly giving than anyone I know on the planet. First of all, Erica, and I know you just visited your grandchildren. How is your family doing?
They're all great. So my family, so I'm on Cape Cod, and my family is in Nashville, Tennessee, and right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So yeah, they're all great. Yep. So
I'm going to ask you a big favor.
Yes.
We yearn to have a Cape Cod lobster roll. So when you can, have a lobster roll and think of Andrea and myself.
Okay.
Folks, we have three objectives today. We want to learn why monthly giving makes so much dollars and cents, how you can start your program, how you can grow your program. And usually I'm pretty structured, but I'm going a little off cue here. Monthly giving is one of those brilliantly simple ideas that everyone say, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that, but no one was until Erica came along and she wrote really the Bible of monthly giving. But how did monthly giving become part of your world?
So I mean, I kind of fell into it. When I lived in the Netherlands, I worked for Reader's Digest, and I was actually in charge of their condensed books program, which is kind of like a continuous program, like a quarterly book series where you subscribe to it. And then when I moved to this country 27 years ago, I started working for a big animal organization, and they had a monthly giving program that was brought down by the founder, who was Canadian. So, because Canada was a little bit ahead of the U.S. when it comes to monthly giving, and I took on that monthly giving program, and really, tripled the value and the program in a couple of years. And then after that, I was hooked. I mean, I saw the power of it, and have been presenting, writing, about it. And then in 2010, I was at a conference, and I was looking at all the books that were there, and there was books about annual appeals and, major gifts and capital campaigns, but there's no book on monthly giving. So I said, okay, maybe I need to write it. And I did. So that's how.
Talk a little about your book. And first of all, as one of the people who's trying to follow in your footsteps, thank you for the service and the leadership that you have provided to everybody in the fundraising and philanthropic worlds. You're a big, and thank you for joining us in the Eskin Fundraising Training webinar series. We like to call ourselves a learning community because everybody in the nonprofit community, different sectors, professional board members, new board members, volunteers, donors, they all join us. And I know you also like describing yourself, what was this, a philanthropic?
Philanthropaholic, yes.
And I think that's a great thing to do, because philanthropy truly does bring out the best in all of us. And this is a special moment, and I think it's so timely that we learn about monthly giving for you, because this is a moment, if my wife taught me to say the word correctly, a conundrum, in which the needs are rising for nonprofits at the same time that government and private resources are being challenged. So we got to learn. Now, nonprofits are no stranger to financial pressures, and every executive director and CEO I know is an expert of stretching nickels into dimes, but guess what? Now they got to stretch them into quarters, okay? And you're going to help them in that. And the truth is, folks, we're all kind of in the same boat in so much there's a lot more that we don't know than we do know, okay? But we know what our nonprofits do. There's about 1.5 million nonprofits across the country. By the way, Erica, there's 100,000 in the state of Texas. There's 6,000 in San Antonio. So, and they all do great work. Most of them are small. And you're going to make the point that monthly giving is a great tool for the smaller nonprofits well. And this will show you, last year, American Philanthropy totaled a record $450 billion. This will show you it really hasn't changed much, the distribution of who gets that. Religion has received the biggest chunk, followed by education, and it's split many ways. And the nice thing we're going to learn that monthly giving can benefit all those different causes. And what we love about our audience, I don't care if you're the executive director, you're the receptionist, you're the board chair, you're the newest member of the board, you're a volunteer, you prove each and every day of your life that one person can make a difference. And as a fellow philanthropic, we know that when nonprofits do well, we all do well, because each of you is involved in touching, improving, and saving more lives. And guess what? Before COVID-19, you were doing essential work, and now what you're doing is more essential than ever. We have a little tradition here. We're going to ask our attendees to type in the 3 words, nonprofit strong. And I'm going to ask you a question, Erica. What are we?
Nonprofit strong.
You're exactly right.
Yep, that's absolutely great.
Also, another theme we're talking about is collaboration. If there was ever a time for the nonprofit sector to help each other out, not compete, that time is now. Collaboration, cooperation, communication leads to a winning situation for everybody. Erica, I was a practitioner primarily in higher education. I ran out of higher education institutions. I was at a 4-year public, a 4-year private. Then for 10 years, I ran the Community College Foundation. And I had the privilege of working with a wonderful group of community and business leaders who are absolutely fearless in everything they had to do in their lives, except what, Erica? Asking for a gift. And what we know about most of fear is fear of the unknown. And so we decided to declare war on the fear of asking for gifts. And in June of 2018, formed Eskin Fundraising Training. And we believe with a little training, we can take anybody in a nonprofit that has the Jeffersonian virtues of a knowing head and an honest heart and turn them into a good fundraiser. We're thrilled. We're excited about the series we're having. Typically, we're going to have a program every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Central Time. We decided we're going to skip one day, and that's the day after the election. We think people are going to be too focused on something else, but we are going to go the day before Thanksgiving. I do a monthly newsletter, and by the way, what our plan is to do is to send out, first of all, we're going to do a short summary on LinkedIn and Facebook about the major points made today. And then our producer does a quick measure spin cycle, and we're going to post the recording and slides so you all can get that. For some reason, if you don't receive my monthly newsletter, in the slide deck, you just click there and you can add your name. And that will also get you invited to all these webinars, which are free of charge. I was proud to publish my first book Erica, I had a pretty good week last week. I sold 16 copies. According to my calculations, I'm only 432,000 copies behind you in book sales. But I'm
I don't know about that. Yeah.
And Erica, this is the time, everything we learned about fundraising is you ask face to face, particularly for major gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, you get the meeting. Sometimes the biggest thing was just getting the meeting. But guess what? We now are in, I call it a new frontier, in which really the underpinning, what we do in fundraising, that's identifying prospects and building a relationship and asking for the gift and thanking for the gift. We still do that, but now we have to do that virtually. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to, I again haven't made up my mind to call her the First Lady, the mother, but let's just say the world's foremost authority on monthly giving. She published the first book on monthly giving, I think it was in 2012, and it's appropriately called Monthly Giving, The Sleeping Giant. Go to her website. She has so many great resources. In fact, we're going to make them available on our social media posts. And again, I think we have the world's foremost authority on monthly giving. Erica, if it's okay, and again, thank you for sharing the most precious gift of all, your time, okay?
You're welcome.
How about this? I have about 10 to 15 questions I'm going to ask Erica, and sometimes she might just take a quick response. Sometimes she might take a longer response. In around, maybe there's nothing in concrete about this, but around 35 after, I'm going to be checking with John if we have any of you all that have questions, and we'll take a question or two from the audience. And then we have a wrap-up section. And we're going to go through some slides. We're not going to go through slides before that. And Erica's going to help us. We're going to kind of tell you what we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you, and then we're going to tell you what we told you. Erica, since it's delighted to hear that your family is safe, and what do you say we get started?
That sounds great. And thanks again for inviting me. Yeah.
Okay, and thanks again. It's nice having the person on the planet that knows more about something than anybody else on. We got to find your equivalent on the vaccine. But let's start with basics. Define what a monthly giving program is and what it isn't.
So a monthly giving program is really just donors making gifts from their credit card or their checking account in an automatic basis without an end date. So it's different from a pledge program where, which is kind of more common in major gift world, where you're saying, okay, well, you can pay off your pledge over a period of 5 years. So the key with monthly giving is there's no end date.
My plan giving friends love the word perpetuity. It's almost like giving in perpetuity, isn't it?
Yes. There's no end date to it. And you don't have to renew it. So again, people, especially with membership programs, are like, oh, well, once I convert them to give monthly, then do I still have to renew it? And it's like, no. So that's a big advantage. You don't have to send out, renewal programs. Again, what I find with the monthly donors is that they want to support the organization. Giving monthly is just a way that they can do that more comfortably from their budget. But the number one reason why they give monthly is because they care, they want to support your organization. That's number one. Then the giving monthly is the second way of doing that. So.
Okay, let's go kind of to the bottom line. You talk about how lucrative to any type of nonprofit a monthly giving program can be. Do you have some data you can share to illustrate that point?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, the reality is there are not that many statistics in monthly giving for whatever reason. So, but if it's there, I have it. I actually have a whole page on my website that says statistics. So, the one study, the Blackbot Sustainer Benchmarking Study, looks and says the average gift annually for a monthly donor is $271. So $271 a year is what they're seeing, the organizations that they're tracking, which is about 35 organizations. So it's not that many, but they're the big guys, right? So 271. I hear on average, you know, $25 a month, so that's $300. I hear stories from organizations that are getting $45 a month. And then the religious organizations, the animal welfare organizations are usually a little bit lower. So they might be seeing like $18, you know, $21 a month. So it does depend on what type of organization you are. But on average, it's about that between $20 to $25 a month.
So it's a great place for
So
the
$300 a
small
year.
business owner
And I
to,
always like whenever you talk about monthly giving, annualize the value. I mean, I know organizations that are like taking 2-year values or 5-year values, but annualize the value of your, that's the easiest, just like, okay, what's the monthly gift times 12? That's what you're going to get from this one donor. So it's a triple, quadruple the value of a one-time gift.
tell us, is monthly giving especially popular in any sector of the nonprofit world?
You know, it's more like the organization that started in it. So animal welfare, environmental organizations, public television, public radio, they started focusing on monthly giving earlier than health organizations or educational organizations. So it's more like those organizations that had small donors to begin with, they were much faster to jump on the option to convert donors to give monthly, rather than organizations that are typically historically have been dependent on major gifts like health and education.
I think you were
It's
telling
growing.
me that our neighbors to the north actually were ahead of us in Canada in embracing
Yes.
monthly giving as a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I mean, Harvey McKinnon was one of the people who wrote a book on monthly giving as well in Canada, and Ken Burnett in the UK. But those are kind of the people that were ahead of me. So Canada was ahead, UK was ahead, and again, I'm from the Netherlands, so I was also already used to, you know, making monthly gifts, and literally, I would literally say, Jim, this is my bank account. Here you go. You know, so and that's how people paid each other. So
Yeah. Hey, one of the biggest challenges that our audience faces, and that is donor retention. Can you share some of the data on the power of monthly giving and the retention?
Absolutely. So monthly donors, that retention rate goes up to like doubles. So if we're seeing that on average, the monthly the donor retention rate right now is
Again,
about,
did you say it doubles?
it doubles. Yeah.
I want all the developer, the director's development to hear that.
Doubles. Yes. So it literally goes from 45 to 90%. So, you know, that's tremendous, right?
It's so much smarter to keep a donor than have to acquire a new donor.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, do typical monthly donors emphasize any demographic factors?
Yeah, I mean, there is, I guess the thing is, like, it depends on, like, you know, those organizations that have larger monthly donor programs, they can now look and say, oh, okay, what do we know about our monthly donors? And for example, they're starting to do surveys so that they can see what age range are they in. Historically, organizations that, for example, started with like sponsorship programs, child sponsorship programs especially, we saw that they were younger, slightly younger demographic. But I'm seeing, you know, for those organizations like animal organizations or religious organizations that are historically older donors to begin with, a lot of them are willing to join a monthly giving program. So, I mean, I work with one organization, they have 10 monthly donor programs.
Okay, Erica, no easy questions.
Yeah.
How common are monthly giving programs? Do you have any sense of what percent of that 1.5 million nonprofits in the country embrace a monthly giving program?
I don't have that statistic. I know
gut
that the
feel?
organization that have embraced it, about 15% of donors on average join a monthly giving program.
Mhm.
So, and there was a study done recently where 57% of donors know about monthly giving and may give to at least one organization monthly.
Okay.
So, but I don't know exactly how many organizations have monthly donor programs yet.
Okay, we got some people listening, okay?
Mhm.
And you got them excited. So this is the key operative question. What does it take to get started in a monthly program initiative?
Not much. It
That's a
really,
great, I
yeah,
tell you what,
it
as an
does
executive
not take
director, I love hearing
much
that.
at all.
Well,
So
what do you need?
if you have a website and you have an online giving opportunity, an online giving page, whatever the system is, you can generate monthly donors. So that's, you know, that's the beginning of it. So if you have an email list, it doesn't even have to be large. If you have an online giving page that has a monthly opportunity on it, you can start generating monthly gifts.
Yeah. Okay,
And
this
pretty much
one's
everybody has a website and
right.
online giving opportunity.
And this one is particularly timely. You know, probably a lot of our colleagues in the sector, like everybody else, they're working remotely from home.
Mm-hmm.
How realistic is it to launch and continue a monthly giving program remotely from home?
Very easy. Again, you know, so if you can send an email to your donors, right? Whatever the email program is, and you can drive them to the online page to make a gift, you can ask them to make a monthly gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I guess that's the thing. I mean, it's really not different from asking for a one-time gift for, I mean, all of the things that you're doing to get donors to make one-time gifts, the same applies when it comes to monthly. It's just like a matter of like, you got to ask the question. So it's like you can add a second button. I have seen organizations, all they did was add a second button in every email that they sent out. One was leading them to go make a one-time gift. The other was leading them to make a monthly gift. And
Adding that second button is going to
adding a
get them a
second
lot more
button.
money, isn't it?
What's that? Adding a
Adding
second
that
button?
second button is going to get them a lot more money.
Get some more money, and the cost is nil, right? It's a
That's a
second
good
button.
cost.
It's no,
Hey, Erica, could you repeat that? What is the cost?
the cost is nil, zero,
That's a
nothing,
good
niks,
cost.
ixnit, you know, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, niets,
Wow.
helemaal, gratis, yeah.
That's a
So,
good cost.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, this might be a fun question. Do you have any favorite monthly giving success stories to share?
You know, I mean, yeah, there's this one animal charity in the gentleman who heads it up, he's a volunteer, and he called me up very early on, and you know, he saw my book, got it, and said, hey, wow, he says, I'm so committed, I'm doing it. And then like a year later he says, wow, Erica, I've got 2,500 donors, I've got 300 monthly donors. Guess how much they're worth? $87,000 a year. 300 monthly donors were worth $87,000 a year for this animal organization. So in other words, it was not a huge organization, but everything he did was focus on getting these monthly donors, right? And now he's at 400. And every now and then he says, Erica, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about that? You know, so we talk about that, right? So that's one. The other organization was a big animal organization. They had a huge file, but for some reason, they had worked with a consultant agency that had never talked to them about monthly giving. So they had, out of this
It
huge
wasn't me, by
file,
the way. It wasn't
no,
me.
it was not you. No, it was not you, and it was certainly not me, right? But then they started working with me, right? And I said, okay, how many monthly donors do you have? And it was fewer than 100,
Yeah.
fewer than 100, and they had thousands and thousands and thousands of names, right? So now we're like close to 300 just a couple of months later, right? So just by adding a couple of these things, a little button, you know, and adding a few emails, you know, to the mix. So just little things that they've added that have, again, quintupled the value of those owners, increase their retention rate and generate more money.
Tell you what.
Yeah.
How small of a commitment can a monthly giving program begin with?
So in terms of like, if you're, so the commitment could be, depends on sort of the system that you're using. So if your donor-based system, your online payment says, the minimum that they allow is $10 a month, that would be your minimum. But if you can get away with $5 a month, that's even better. But you always have options. So you might start with $5 a month and $10 a month and $20 a month. So that's the smallest commitment. And there's actually a study out there and there's been a couple of test cases where if you ask for a small amount, and you direct them to that page, the donors will still self-identify what they want to give. So even if I ask for $5 a month in the email, when the donor gets there, they might say, I can do $15 a month, right? So, so don't be afraid to try some new things and try some low amounts. You don't want to scare them away with too high. And I've seen organizations that said, our
Kind
monthly
of a
donor
delicate
program.
balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, and then organizations say, well, my monthly donor program isn't working that well. I'm like, okay, well, what are you asking? $50 a month. Oh, that's a little bit too high to get, going. So I said, well, lower that and then, see what happens, because you can upgrade them later, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As an executive director, and every executive director I know loves unrestricted giving.
Yeah.
How does monthly giving work in conjunction with annual funds and unrestricted giving?
It's part of your annual fund. It's unrestricted money, unrestricted giving.
You would say that again. That's my
unrestricted. So monthly donors give unrestricted gifts. So it's part of your annual fund. Yeah.
I always felt that $2 unrestricted dollars was worth, or $1 unrestricted dollars was worth 2 restricted. We know that the best practice in the nonprofit world is to have boards lead by example. Mm-hmm. How do you get, you're a nonprofit executive director, you're a board chair, how do you get your nonprofit board to lead by example and to embrace monthly giving?
So, I've worked with organizations, if they're, on board with this, we ask the board members to make a monthly gift. And, again, they could make, $85 a month, which is $1,000 a year, right? So they could start there. Or sometimes if you have working boards that just can't afford the big bucks yet, you can start and saying, well, here's a way to get started. But I think then you take it further and you say, well, hey, you're now doing this as a board member or as a board chair or as an executive director. Would you like to tell why you're doing this?
Yeah.
And then would you like to say that on video?
I like that.
And would you then like to share that video with other board members, with donors, right? So
hey, by the way, Erica, can we do a virtual fist bump? I love that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
On the screen there?
On the screen, yeah. So, so again, like involve your board members and your existing monthly donors and ask them, like, why are you giving monthly? And then say, can I use that to reach out to others? So, but yeah, involve your board chairs. And I've seen videos that they're saying, well, this is my way of giving, and I invite you to do the same.
I bet some of our audience is thinking about this. Okay, what works best in the stewardship of monthly donors? I take it you don't want to send them the same thank you letter month after month. What works best in stewarding them?
Yeah, so the key, so a couple of things. One is, I know some organizations are like, oh, I got to have my membership program totally ready. what are all the benefits? What did I want to send them and stuff like that. So the reality is like, you want to just get started, right? You can always do something special and surprising later on. So that's one. But the key thing that you want to promise your monthly donor when they sign up is you're not going to receive monthly thank you letters, but we will send you a tax letter in January.
Mhm.
So, and that has an overview of all. So that's what I recommend as definitely like a stewardship piece. And then if I also recommend that no matter how they came in, if they join online or offline, you want to send them a thank you letter in the mail as soon as possible that has a contact person, a contact phone number, contact email, and it basically repeats and says, look, from now on, you're a very special donor to us, and we're not going to send you thank you letters in the mail, but you'll receive a tax letter, and don't promise them that they're not going to get any mail, but or emails for that matter. But just say you will continue to receive updates on how your gifts are making a difference.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't hang yourself up and saying it's got to be. I got to promise them that they get a quarterly newsletter if you're not sure if you can actually pull that off. So just like say you'll receive updates. And that way you can do, your updates can mean emails, your updates can mean print newsletters, your updates can mean invitations to virtual town halls or events. It can be any of that, but you don't have to commit because then if you can't pull it off, now you're breaking your promise. So that's not a
Yeah.
good thing.
Hey, Erica, what do we know about the transaction preference of monthly donors? Do they prefer credit card, debit card, bank draft?
Yeah, I
Mail?
mean, again, it also depends a little bit on what options you offer them. But those organizations that offer both options, credit card and EFT, electronic funds transfer, e-check, direct debit, ACH, however they call it, um, about 15% of donors for those organizations that have EFT are doing that. So it's definitely growing. So electronic funds transfer, e-check, direct debit,
Yeah,
that retention rate is the highest. It's like 95%.
yeah,
So if you
yeah.
can get them to do that, that's great. But the bulk of donors are still going to do it through credit card. So, but
And of
it's
course, some like to get their points, that way.
yes, yep.
Um, our business is built around major gifts, which can be defined anywhere, one organization, 10,000 to a million, another organization. But can you share some strategies to motivate your monthly donors to be cultivated for major gift donors?
Yeah, so one of the things that people used to think is once somebody is a monthly donor, I have to stop asking, and they're like, we got to set them and forget them and not touch them, right? So the reality is that, again, as part of that stewardship, you want to continue to give them updates. And you want to also continue to invite them to participate or support special projects, right? So if you give them the opportunity to support a special project, that's a way to start like cultivating them and see if who is willing to make a bigger gift, right?
Mhm.
So it might be a $50 a month, and see if you can get them to write a $500 check or a $1,000 check, right? Oh, okay. So now you can perhaps get them up to a mid-level program. I mean, some organizations that have multiple monthly donor programs are looking at mid-level monthly donor programs.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, so it's all about, again, asking them, making them feel good about the fact that they're already contributing quite a bit of money, but hey, here's a special opportunity. If there's a match, I mean, monthly donors love matches like
Mm.
anybody, but make sure that you include them in the match. If you have a special project, include them in your special project. I guess the best story I heard about a donor who became a big major donor. It was an educational institution. It was a donor who made a $10 million gift.
Yeah.
It's actually my son's college, and he made a $10 million gift. And you know how he started? He was a $5 a month alum.
Hey, listen, I want you to repeat that story to our audience.
So here was a $10 million gift
Yeah,
that came from a $5 a month alum.
I call that return on investment.
Yes. Yeah. So
Hey,
now
this
again, I'm not telling you that you will always get those,
No.
but we absolutely see monthly donors that are able to be upgraded to big gifts
This question is in the same
and legacies.
spirit.
Yeah.
How can we cultivate monthly donors to include the nonprofit in their estate plans?
Yeah, so I started to say, like, so monthly donors are 6 times more likely to leave you in their will.
Wow. And by the way, I hear something that usually people can give at least 7 times fold through their estate as they can give through their income.
Right. Yeah. So I guess here's the thing. If you have a monthly donor program, look, and then you have legacy gifts, right? So look at what was the first gift? How long ago was it? How many gifts did the donor make? Were they a monthly donor? And then look at what was the amount that they left in your legacy. So I have one organization, they have about 35,000 monthly donors. So we're tracking their legacy gifts, and we find that 70% of their monthly donors were the people that left the organization in their will and left, and they got like a legacy gift from. And the average legacy gift was $12,000.
Wow.
So they were $10, $20 givers, and now they got $12,000, right? So, but you got to go back and say, well, hey, what do you know about these people, right?
Yeah.
So track that.
And by the way, Erica, I can hear my late mother is inspiring that I ask you this question. What shouldn't you do? What are the major no-nos of monthly giving programs? And what is the single biggest mistake that nonprofits should avoid?
So the biggest mistake is not, I would say, not focusing on it. And I think it, and kind of like assuming that somebody else does something.
Yeah.
So it's really a program where somebody needs to take charge. A friend of mine calls it, like, say, make it a thing, right? Make monthly giving a thing. But that also means be totally accountable for the whole program. So it doesn't mean that you have to do everything physically yourself, but somebody needs to track it and say, hey, I looked at the report. Here's where we are. We're growing, blah, 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 blah. Hey, I looked at the report. Oops, we have a couple of people whose credit card expired. We need to follow up right away. So don't assume that somebody, you know, in another department, that the finance people or the accounting people are saying, hey, here are the 5 people whose payment didn't come in. They're not going to follow up, right? So you need to take charge and follow up.
I mean,
so I think that's the
it
biggest.
gets real when you put a specific person in charge of it.
Absolutely.
Before we check
Yes.
on the audience, I wanted to fit in this question.
Yeah.
And again, how does monthly giving fit into the contact-free fundraising environment we find ourselves in right now?
Well, again, I mean, it's like they can do it, you know, like on their own computer and sign up, and you know, they don't even have to touch a direct mail piece per se. They don't have to write checks anymore, so it fits in really, really
Wow.
well. And I know even, you know, there's some organizations that are doing face-to-face monthly giving fundraising. On the streets or door to door, and they now have machine, you know, again, it's like everything they do is totally contactless, right? So so they've got the systems in place to do that. So it's just a great way, and again, you can spread the gift. So even if, you know, and I think the other thing is, like, a lot of the monthly donors, they're older and they live on a fixed income, so it's a great way for them to continue to support the organization.
And they like the budget, right? They like the budget.
Yep.
Hey, doing great on time, Erica. I love the pace of your responding. I could ask you some more questions. Let's stop for a moment. John, do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to ask a question?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here. The first one is along the lines of what you were
Okay,
just
let me talk
talking
how we're going
about.
to divide these up. Okay, John, 1 minute. I'm going to tell Erica if the question is difficult, she'll take it. If it's a no-brainer, easy one, I'll take it. Okay, Erica, that's our deal.
It sounds good. Okay.
Yes, Alanis is asking, is there a particular demographic by age group that gives more monthly?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to take it that? So, I mean, I kind of started seeing that there, again, there's not that much research out there yet. But on average, like, the younger demographic is a little bit more comfortable now giving by bank account. Older demographic is more comfortable, like, sending out checks, or credit cards. But it's really all over the map. It depends a little bit on the type of organization.
Yeah.
So,
You know, that isn't that kind of the beauty of it? It can fit your financial preferences.
yeah.
Some people are comfortable with bank drafts. Some people are comfortable because they want
So,
these
yeah,
points.
so in other words, I wouldn't worry about that demographic piece too much. I mean, go out there, ask, and then find out from a survey what you can find out from them and which age range are they in. I mean, baby boomers, 50% of them are giving monthly right now. I'm a baby boomer, so
I'm a boomer. That's me.
but even some
I
older,
don't know how much boom I have left, but I am a baby boomer.
yeah. So some older, so again, it depends a little bit on your I mean, religious organizations, lots of older donors, and they get tons and tons of monthly donors. So go out there, ask. I wouldn't
Jane,
worry about that too much right now. So
you're on Cape Cod, but you know in Boston is proud of that little institution called Harvard.
mhm.
And we're next going to get a question who's the chairman of the Harvard alumni group in San Antonio, or the Harvard Business School alumni. Jean is a regular member of our learning community. Get ready for a Harvard type question.
Okay.
Am I on?
Yes.
You are on, Gene.
Yes, Jean.
You have to have, a 750 SAT or above to
What?
answer this
Well,
one.
I didn't grow up here, so I didn't graduate from an American college, so I have no idea what my SAT scores were because I didn't do them. So,
I don't know.
yeah.
And by the way, I hold the Netherlands in high regard. I think that's a very organized little country.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Good education too. Yeah.
Okay. So on our, we have a donation button on the Bowen Center for Neighborhood Advocacy website. But I never really looked to see if it has a recurring option. Is that usually in there?
Yeah. So if you click the donate button and then you go there may be the something right below the ask amounts where it says make this recurring or make this monthly,
Yeah.
or like a pull down and make it, so it
Okay,
depends
well,
on the system.
yeah, I'll really look into that now. And
Hey,
I wanted to just share, I am doing monthly with, and I want to, with the Bear County Democrat Party.
Mhm.
And just, this is not a political statement, but
yeah.
uh,
We're political
The,
free on this airwave.
but I wanted to tell you what they're doing, which I think is real important to promote it. For instance, at our last in-person meeting was March 10th, and where they had all the precinct chairman and other people there. And then they said, everybody who's a monthly donor, stand up and let's give them a hand.
Yeah.
That created, some excitement and made the monthly donors feel good. So I think it needs to be, reinforced. But now that we're meeting only by Zoom, I noticed that when the treasurer gives the monthly report, they highlight, okay, and
Yeah.
we got this much from our monthly donors. I mean, just to remind people, it's there and it's happening. And I think that's real important.
That is a really important, and you make a real important point, is that having that separate budget line is what, one of when I was asking some questions was what really helped propel monthly giving programs forward even more. So yes, like having that separate budget line and again, thanking your monthly donors and
Let's
highlighting it
see.
as
I
well.
think we have Susan, who's been. This started as live workshops, and then when COVID popped up, we went to webinars. And Susan, thank you for being such a robust contributor to our learning community. And you have the floor.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Erica.
You're welcome.
So I have a question. How often, and the best way to do it, do you ask your monthly people to increase their monthly gift?
Yeah, so that's usually again, it depends a little bit on the type of organization, but usually you want to ask like once a year. So you
Do you
don't have
like any particular time of year, or maybe just kind of make
yeah, I
sure it's an
mean,
anniversary?
like it depends a little bit on when they came in. So in other words, if you have donors who started giving monthly, like say in September, you may want to start doing something. You may want to ask like in May, like a couple of months before the end of their year. You certainly don't want to do it like within 6 months, but again, you can do a little bit of testing in that. Again, if stuff is more expensive, if you can really make a good case in saying, hey, food has increased, or this has increased, again, you can ask your monthly donors, but I wouldn't do it before 6 months. February is usually a good time. So in January, you send them the tax letter, and then in February, you can reach out and say, thanks so much. You really make a difference, but would you consider an increase? So
We have time for one more question if there's a brave soul, and then we're going to go to our wrap-up section.
don't bite.
I do. I have a written question here. I'm
Yeah.
hearing buzz about reframing monthly giving as a subscription giving
Oh boy.
to attract
Yeah.
folks who think nothing of subscribing to streaming platforms, clothes, makeup, etc. What are your thoughts?
That's a really good, interesting question. And I had a conversation with somebody about that. Uh, you know, in essence, a monthly giving is a subscription, but we just don't call it that necessarily. I don't really have a clear guideline on it, other than yes, I mean for those donors who are used to paying for subscriptions on a monthly basis, in essence, they're supporting an organization on a monthly basis. We just, I know Network for Good started this whole subscription
Hey, how
thing,
about this? When you
So
come back on my show next year, we'll talk about that issue.
yeah, I mean, it's really this. I guess it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a word. I mean, it's just like some organizations call it sustainers, and
Yeah.
so it's really making your gift on a monthly basis, so you're more loyal than somebody who just says, well, let me try this one time. So yeah,
Erica,
it's
this
more
has
part of
been
the
a
loyalty.
rich
But
discussion.
great
Let's
question.
do a list. Yeah, it is a great question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I have to do a blog about it, I guess.
Who had that question?
So
I want to
yeah.
send them a candy bar or something. Who asked that question?
I will have to get back with you on that,
Okay,
Jim.
okay, that was a really astute question. I'm going to go to the wrap-up section, and pardon me, I'm in Texas now, but I grew up in Boston, so I go pretty quickly. You published your groundbreaking book in the year 2012. I guess that's about 8 years ago.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any, just that some time has passed, any significant new strategies you want to highlight that aren't covered in this wonderful book?
Yeah, so I think at the time when I wrote this book, the whole digital, ads, Google ads, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a lot of those digital media really were not, they didn't exist yet, or they were just, minimal. So that is an area where I would like to focus on a little bit more in my next book. So
Are we thinking about your next book?
you know, I've been thinking about it for a while. I mean, you know, I'm writing an ebook right now.
Yeah.
I've written like 3 different types of books, but I just got to have the time to really focus and I guess it's like, I don't, you know, if you look at the Monthly Giving book, it has a lot of examples in it.
Yeah.
I don't want to just write a book. I need to pull in the examples as well.
Yeah.
So, so that people have a visual, you know, to some of the questions. It says buttons and forms and, you know, whatever. So I really want to make sure that I have all of the forms in it, and some ads and, you know, things like that, because otherwise it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's, I just
by
need
the
some
way,
time
again,
and I'm busy. So
we're
I'm
gonna
busy with
put
webinars,
up
you know,
the
so yeah.
social media posts. Erica has a very robust website that has a lot of practical and useful and timely resources.
And they're
We're
free.
going to be sharing that. And a roadmap. But anyway, we're going to go to Jim's wrap up. First of all, and I'm going to bring you in for points. If I heard you correctly, monthly giving, it doesn't matter of what part of the sector, your arts or health or education or animal welfare, monthly giving works for all. Do I hear that?
Yes, yes.
And part of the reason is that we're taught, you know, you should not look at the donor as a single one-time transaction. What you want to do is build a lifetime relationship that keeps on growing deeper and more special and more intimate. And monthly giving is a wonderful way to achieve what they call donor lifetime value.
That is correct. Yes. Yep.
And again, start thinking. If you're out asking somebody for a one-time gift, why don't you did you call it a second button?
Yeah,
And would you consider joining our monthly giving circle? Because it's going to end up in a lot of Cape Cod fish, more than one, right? And also too, if I heard you that I heard you the cost is nil.
Yeah, cost is minimal. Yep.
Every chief financial officer I know would be sold on that line. It really is something that's very doable for nonprofits with a staff of 100 and for a nonprofit with a staff of 3. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I coined the phrase like Monthly Donor Monday. So you can just 1 hour on a Monday, every Monday, if you focus on it for an hour, you can get a lot done.
Yeah. Another thing that I think you and I share our philosophy. Too many times people, you want to get everything perfect, you know, to ask for a gift and the moon and the stars and this align. Starting a monthly giving program like any fundraising initiative is more important than perfection. And could you amplify on that?
Absolutely. So in other words, like, again, we're in unprecedented times. So do something new, try something, throw in that extra button, throw in like 3 lines about monthly giving, see what happens. Okay, worst comes, it didn't work. Well, then you try it again with a different email, you know, so but try something.
And I heard particularly that it's a great way if you're saying you're a small nonprofit and you don't have gazillionaires contributed to you. Right. It is a very effective tool with the more modest and smaller donors.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So, and I know people ask me, what's the level? I usually say anybody like who makes a one-time gift of $250 or less is a really good prospect for monthly giving.
Okay, I think that you say it's more than double. I want everyone to listen closely. Talk about the impact in retention.
So the impact, the retention rate for monthly donors is double that of one-time donors. Yeah.
Folks, I tell you what, I like that so much. Repeat that again.
So monthly donors, the retention rate is double that of one-time donors.
Because Erica and I know it costs so much more to acquire a new donor than to keep a loyal donor. And you're saying, what type of staff are usually made responsible for a monthly giving program?
You know, that's a really good question. It kind of is all over the map. So if you have a small staff, like if you're just an executive director, I mean, you're it. A lot of times if you have, if you have, you know, like an admin person, you know, work closely with that admin person, whoever is like involved in the database. A lot of times those are the people that are mostly associated with monthly giving programs. But make sure that that person is accountable and you have a direct communication with them, so they feel responsible for, you know, again, they feel responsible for this program and for the growth of it as well. That's really, really key.
And two, the strategic planner was like that this, as much as anything, is going to help you predict your income streams, which sometimes can be kind of iffy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've created like a little planner where the monthly donor, you know, income from last year is like a starting point. And then, you know, so you know that money is going to come in, and then you add whatever it is that you're going to do this year. So always have that be top of mind, and make sure that that's an ongoing line there.
Folks, you do more than this, but if you do one thing, we're going to send out a post, and it's going to include, I love Erica's roadmap to monthly donor success. Take a second to talk about your roadmap.
Yeah, so I mean, I literally wrote this roadmap in like half an hour, but then it was created, you know, so it has just all of the steps that you can do from start to finish, to start getting a monthly donor program on the road. So, and you just follow the steps. I mean, you know, chip away at it, follow the steps, and you'll be successful. So.
And it's on your website, and we're going to post this at 5:05. I tell you what, please take a couple of minutes and review Erica's roadmap. It's a wonderful resource. We're talking about stewardship. You know, you can be creative. You don't want to send a donor the same thank you letter every month, but you also want to let them know that they're not going to get a monthly letter. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes. You want to tell them right up front what they can expect. So, so in the thank you letter that you send out right away, that's when you tell them that they're not going to get that thank you letter, but they're going to get updates. And again, they want your updates. They care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if I heard this figure right, monthly donors are 6 times more likely to make a legacy or estate gifts.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and this comes from a UK study where they looked at they have like a lot more monthly donors, so they really looked at where did the legacy gifts come from. So,
and this captures my heart, that monthly giving is typically tied directly to unrestricted gifts.
Unrestricted, yes.
We're going to move, and the key thing is it doesn't become real, and it could be a member of the board, it could be a member of the staff, it could be a volunteer. There's got to be a John, an Erica, a Jen, someone that's specifically responsible to make it.
Yes.
We're going to rush now.
Yeah.
You left us with some golden nuggets. Number one is the return on investment is out of this world. We can't even calculate it. It opens the door for bigger gifts. It fits for all sizes and nonprofits. And the best advice, don't wait to get it perfect. Get started now. And I'm just going to say this is kind of a wrap up. Gee, I got about 2 minutes here. We're saying this is not just monthly giving, but it's time for nonprofits to focus on really what's essential to them. So you can make the case when it comes to a return on investment, nothing will be better than monthly giving. I heard that monthly giving is the ultimate contact-free form way of supporting your nonprofit. We like to say too that during this crisis, everybody can do something. And when we all pull together, we have greater impact. And like a board and a staff, if they're all pulling an oar, that boat, if it's on Cape Cod, is going to be doing a lot better. We like to say, Erica, you should think of your donors like family. What are we doing? And I know you got family in the southern part of the United States. You got family in Netherlands. You're probably making calls, you know, how are you doing? This is how we're doing. Is there anything we can do to help? That's how you should think of your donors. Maybe, too, you can incorporate into the conversation, we are ramping up a monthly giving initiative.
Mhm.
And we're like to saying that to recognize your monthly donors. They're heroes. Put them on your website, put them in your email blasts or whatever. Share good news. One of the things, I'm wrapping up here in a hurry, and I say it over and over again, folks, this is not the time to take your foot off the fundraising gas pedal. You should not stop and wait and watch what everyone else is doing. Philanthropy has historically been resilient. And Erica, you know that philanthropy is actually responding better to COVID than it did to the recess of 08, 09.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because the best predictor of philanthropy is the stock market, and the stock market has held up amazingly well. And Erica, it's been a great, one other thing, Erica, I want to get your advice. I think we're all suffering from Zoom fatigue and computer fatigue. You know, we're asking people to be in front of the screen. Is there some way that, you know, you don't have to, you know, overdo something on the screen to recruit a monthly donor?
Well, the screen does work really, really well, like through your email. So, but again, you can say like once you join as a monthly donor, you don't have to attend any of our virtual events, you know. So,
Yeah. Okay.
you know,
You're cutting down their
and
fatigue.
or you can, you know, listen into a phone call. I mean, you know, some organizations are offering like town hall meetings via phone or, you know, whatever. So you don't have to go on Zoom, but.
Okay, Erica, maybe you will back me up. I like to give a money back guarantee. Your chances of getting the gift go way up when you ask.
Yeah.
And by the way, your chances of getting a monthly donor go way up when you ask them to become a monthly donor.
Absolutely. And again, I've heard great, tremendous stories about like organizations that have been really, really successful in growing their monthly donors during this time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I want to thank you. By the way, I'd like to close every show. President John F. Kennedy said these words when he gave the commencement address at American University on June 10th, 1963. And it gives me goosebumps because I think he's speaking to us right now. Our most basic common link is that we all inhabit the same small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future, and we're all mortal. It's like President Kennedy speaking to us right now. I want to thank John Largent, the great job he has done as our producer. He is going to, with the help of his son, Matthew, give us a recording slides that we are going to post on social media. But I most of all want to thank Erica Waasdorp, who is in Martins Mill, Cape Cod. And will you please get in your car, drive about 5 miles down the road, stop at the quarter deck and get some lobster rolls. But more also, thank you for the wonderful inspiration and the leadership that you have provided to our profession, because being the world's most foremost authority in monthly giving, nonprofits are raising more money for good causes. So thank you for everything you've done for our profession. I look forward to remaining in contact, and more importantly, I look forward to sharing some moments with you in Cape Cod. And by the way, you see this photo? That's Falmouth. That's taken Sipawissa.
Okay.
Falmouth. So that's not far from you.
Great.
Boy, that water is cold when you go in it in late September.
Yeah.
Stay safe, John.
Thanks.
Thank you. And to our learning community, thank you for making this such a rich, interactive experience. And everybody, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thanks, John.